December 1502. Senigallia, Italy. The air is bone-chilling. This is the moment Machiavelli witnessed that changed political philosophy forever. Borgia's rivals came for a peace treaty. Before dawn, the only sound was the finality of a closed door. The rivals were removed from the board permanently. He didn't argue with them. He outpositioned them. One side came for a handshake. The other came for a harvest. Never mistake a temporary pause in conflict for a permanent alliance. That's the game you're in. You're not losing because you're untalented. You're losing because you're playing the wrong game. You were told hard work, honesty, and patience would eventually be rewarded, so you stayed compliant. While you were following rules, someone else was setting incentives. Weakness is rarely low intelligence. It's obedience without leverage. You can perform but can't enforce. You can deliver but can't dictate terms. Fairness is usually a control story told to people the system needs predictable. Your cynicism is pattern recognition. Rewards flow to those who shape incentives, not those who merely satisfy them. Machiavelli mapped this with clinical honesty. The Prince wasn't moral advice. It was a breakdown of how power actually works once you strip away the good guy stories. Power seen as a machine. Define the real game. Perception, incentives, enforced consequences. Most people operate in compliance mode. Strategists operate in internalization mode. They choose standards, enforce them, and make others adapt. Today we remove emotion and run diagnosis. 3 rules Machiavelli observed in Renaissance courts map directly onto modern hierarchies, offices, relationships, social circles. Not motivation, mechanics. Understand the mechanism, and you stop being managed by it. But there's a reason 95% of people will never use these rules, even after hearing them. It's a psychological safety trap. Machiavelli identified 500 years ago. It's probably the exact thing keeping you stagnant right now. We'll dismantle it in Rule 2. Before you can enforce a single rule, you must survive the first 10 seconds of every encounter. Lose the battle of the mind, and you lose the battle of the room. Rule 1. Control perception before reality. In power games, symbols win first, because reputation moves faster than results. It's not enough to be capable. You must be seen as capable. You must appear decisive. You must appear dangerous enough that resistance looks expensive. People don't evaluate you from zero. They use shortcuts. This is how human nature works. People don't listen to your words first. They scan your rank. If you look weak, your words are noise. If you look strong, they believe you before you even speak. That's why first impressions become anchors. Early frames are sticky. Once someone places you into high value or low value, every new action gets interpreted through that label. It's lazy brains on autopilot, not malice. If you don't consciously write that first map, someone else will write it for you. Usually through your hesitations. Usually through your need to be liked. Before we even get to the full protocol, do this today. Next time someone asks you a question, wait 2 seconds before answering. Don't nod, don't say, just look. You'll feel the power shift in the room instantly. That's the mechanism in action. Now let's build the full protocol. So here's the high-status baseline. Be a closed loop, decisive language, boundaries without apology, and controlled access. Say less, decide faster, and stop broadcasting process. If people can reach you anytime, they rank you as optional. These are baseline moves. The advanced move is the status silence. Hold eye contact and wait 2 extra seconds when challenged. No nodding, no no rush. In that pause, anxious people negotiate against themselves. Then answer once, short and final. Look at your last 5 sent messages. How many begin with sorry, just, or I think maybe? If it's more than one, Rule 1 is currently failing you. Now the trap that destroys most ambitious people, the over-explainer. The over-explainer is a strategist's easiest target. Every unnecessary explanation is a status leak before the fight starts. When you over-explain, you buy approval with logic and put yourself in debt. Stop paying for permission you already have. If you made a mistake, fix it. If you made a decision, own it. You've seen this: 2 people give the same idea, and the room trusts the one who speaks like the decision is already made. If your first impression has already been weak, don't try to talk your way out of it. People rarely revise anchors from arguments alone. They revise anchors from pattern breaks. One decisive, visible action can reset the frame faster than 10 explanations. Lead the hard conversation no one else wants. Fix the stalled project without noise. Make a clear decision under uncertainty and own the outcome. Visible decisiveness rewrites memory. Cesare Borgia used this logic with surgical brutality. Romagna was chaotic. He appointed his condottiere Ramiro de Orco to crush disorder fast. Order returned, but hatred concentrated on Ramiro. Then Borgia had Ramiro eliminated and his downfall made public in the square of Cesena. The people woke to a stark display of broken authority. The instrument of his removal was left in plain sight. There was no riot, only a heavy, holy silence. In one image, years of chaos vanished. The message was louder than any sermon. The rules were back, and the cost was absolute. That's the final move. One clear consequence that ends 1,000 small anxieties. That's perception engineered on top of consequence, as Chapter 7 of The Prince demonstrates with brutal clarity. Renaissance courts proved this law. Those who mastered optics gained power. Those who relied on merit alone were bypassed. Borgia used absolute enforcement to buy order. In the modern world, the currency changed, but the math didn't. You don't need force, you need a niche. The strategist doesn't fight harder inside a crowded lane. He shifts arenas before the crowd notices. He repositions toward a game where his profile is to sit, and the scoreboard is still being defined. Perception is easier to dominate in thin markets than in saturated ones. In modern terms, this might mean leaving a title race with 500 identical candidates and moving into a niche where your combined skill stack is rare, not because the niche is easy, but because scarcity creates authority faster than volume competition. The crowd keeps competing for old badges. The strategist captures new territory, while everyone else is still updating resumes. That's the asymmetry. Most people invest in output first and hope perception follows. Strategists invest in perception architecture first, then output gets valued higher retroactively. Same work, different frame, different reward. Understand the sequence. Perception is the platform, but platform without enforcement collapses. If people believe you but don't fear consequences, they'll test you until your image breaks. Most people think consequences mean being a jerk. Wrong. Cesare Borgia proved the most effective. Consequences are a form of practical compassion, but only if you have the stomach for the final move he made in Cesena. You're about to see why clarity is the only real kindness. Next rule, from being believed to being obeyed. Kindness is the most dangerous form of cruelty. Rule 2. Replace love with predictable consequences. The compassion of clarity. This is where low-level advice gets corrupted. People hear fear over love and think this is permission to be cruel. Wrong. Machiavelli's maxim, "It is better to be feared than loved," isn't about cruelty, it's about structure. Cruelty is random pain, strategy is clear structure. Ambiguity creates more suffering than strictness. When standards are vague, people live in constant anxiety. They test lines, guess rules, and get punished at random. Clear rules feel hard on day 1, but calmer by day 10. Unclear rules feel kind on day 1, then turn into chaos. Clarity isn't kindness theater, it's practical compassion. Borgia's move wasn't random cruelty, it was controlled enforcement followed by visible order. People will call that harsh. History calls it effective. Affection feels good, but affection is volatile. Consequences feel cold, but consequences are structural. One changes with mood, one survives mood. Machiavelli's diagnosis was a death sentence for the naive, not terror, predictability. People can dislike you and still comply if the cost of crossing lines is clear and consistent. Modern translation. This isn't about cruelty, it's about legibility. Your environment must know exactly what happens when standards are violated. Ambiguity is the enemy of authority. Loyalty that can be bought was never loyalty. It was a lease. If your people leave for a better offer, you didn't build a team, you just rented compliance. Compliance pressure creates obedience. Identification. Status creates followership. Internalization. Shared values create self-enforcement. If pressure disappears and behavior collapses, you build compliance, not culture. If you need immediate order, install consequences. If you want voluntary followership, demonstrate results worth identifying with. If you want long-term culture, repeat standards until they're absorbed. Authority is a vacuum. When you signal "I'm accountable," people stop debating and start obeying. They don't fear the choice. They fear carrying its weight. Own visible responsibility. The person who owns consequences owns the room. If you want to be obeyed, say, "This call is mine. If it fails on me." Take the weight. Build a consequence matrix. Before conflict. Minor breach, moderate breach, major breach. Define response for each level in advance. When emotion spikes, execute the matrix instead of improvising. Legitimacy is what turns personal preference into accepted authority. So execute this 4-move protocol. Move 1. Set terms early. Do it before conflict. People can't violate boundaries they never heard. State expectations at the start, not during emotional escalation. Move 2. When a line is crossed, punish once, clearly, without theater. No rant, no emotional spillover. Apply consequence, then return to baseline. Precision hardens it. Move 3. Reward selectively, not automatically. Predictable reward creates entitlement. Surprise rewards keep people focused. Don't pay people for doing the bare minimum. Only reward them when they go above and beyond. Move 4. Stay consistent across people and contexts. If your friend gets a pass while a stranger gets punished, your rules are exposed as negotiable. Once negotiable, always tested.
Now multiply this with social proof. Standards enforced in public become group norms. Once norms lock in, people self-police and you enforce less. Likability addicts self-destruct by making exceptions. Each exception tells the room your rules are negotiable. 2 or 3 unpunished breaches and your authority is demoted. Savonarola is the warning. He ruled through guilt, mistook guilt for loyalty, and the same city that once praised him saw to his final public end in 1498.
Never rule through moral debt. Rule through structural necessity. Groups conform to avoid social pain, not because they're right. Make your standard the group norm and deviation becomes costly. Rule 1 and 2 are how you govern the climate of your life. But the sun doesn't shine forever. Eventually the flood comes. When it does, your rules won't save you, only preparation will. So we move to the final rule, control under volatility. From authority in calm to dominance in chaos. Rule 3. Build virtue, anticipate chaos, and exploit shifts. Most people are reactors. They wait until change becomes unavoidable, then scramble. Strategists are positioners. They move before consensus. That gap is everything. It's the gap between labor and architecture, between being managed by events and managing event consequences. Machiavelli's framework is virtue versus fortuna. Fortuna is instability, luck, shocks, disruption, timing. Virtue is adaptive capacity, foresight, ingenuity, decisive execution under uncertainty. He never claimed you can eliminate fortune. He argued you can build enough preparation that bad fortune is survivable and good fortune is harvestable. Machiavelli compared fortune to a river that floods when unchecked. In calm seasons, disciplined rulers build embankments. When the storm comes, damage is limited. Undisciplined rulers wait for the flood, then call disaster unexpected. The difference isn't luck, it's pre-built structure. Your savings buffer, skill redundancy, and trusted alliances are your embankments. He also admitted the hard part. If humans could change their nature to match changing times, they would stay successful. Most can't. They stay rigid while conditions mutate. Rigidity, not chaos, is the executioner. Now apply the structural lens. Forget the 15th century for 10 seconds. Look at your LinkedIn feed. It's a digital graveyard of people performing for an audience that doesn't care. You see promotions and certificates, but you also feel the rot. If the company pivots tomorrow, you're a line item on a spreadsheet. That pit in your stomach isn't cynicism, it's survival instinct, telling you the ship is taking on water. The barbarian move isn't about ego. It's about getting your people to high ground before the tide comes in. Too many qualified people, too few real seats. Credentials inflate, openings shrink. Rule 3 isn't optional self-improvement. It's survival when the ladder is cracking under too many climbers. If you stay in the old system, you carry the weight of everyone above you while they cash out your effort. You become a shock absorber for a failing system. Stop trying to be a better citizen of a dying empire. Become the barbarian who builds what comes next. The next decade won't belong to the best resumes. It'll belong to builders with ownership. But that bridge requires uncomfortable alliances. Sentimental networks break under pressure. Utility alliances get stronger in collapse. So build virtue through 4 pillars. Pillar 1. Skills you can take anywhere. Don't rely on credentials trapped inside one institution. Build capabilities that transfer across systems. Portable skills preserve leverage when institutions reset. But don't stop at transferability. Build capabilities the old empire can't control. Don't just learn to code. Learn to own distribution. Don't just learn to manage. Learn to build the network. The old empire owns buildings and titles. You must own attention and infrastructure. That's how you move from survivor to successor. The old empire offers a senior manager title in a dying industry. The successor state is a private network of 50 high-value peers and a distribution channel you own. One is a permission slip, the other is sovereignty. Build sovereignty. Pillar 2. Utility alliances. Sentimental networks break under pressure. Mutual advantage networks endure because both sides gain from continuity. Build relationships where value exchange is explicit, repeatable, and respected. Pillar 3. Exit routes. Always maintain at least one viable move. Alternative income stream, relocation option, role pivot, client pipeline, deployable side competency. No exit means no negotiation power. Dependency is silent captivity. Pillar 4. Anti-overextension. Growing faster than you can handle looks ambitious, then turns fatal. Personal empires and historical empires die by the same pattern. Too many fronts, too little reinforcement, delayed response, cascading failure. Translate these pillars into personal strategy this quarter. Choose one portable skill to deepen, one alliance to formalize, one exit option to prototype, and one commitment to decline so you stop bleeding focus. People lose power less from dramatic failure than from constant low-grade diffusion. Virtue is concentrated force applied at the right moment, not endless motion. Dominance is never permanent. Systems shift, and denial kills faster than competition. Most people call preparation overthinking until crisis arrives. Strategists pre-decide, if X happens, I do Y. That's why they look calm while others panic. Calm is pre-decision. Virtue is preparation before urgency. Now close the loops. Perception without enforcement becomes theater. Enforcement without adaptation collapses during regime change. Virtue is what makes the whole system durable, because it's built for conditions that don't yet exist. This is the full synthesis. Power isn't granted by merit alone. It isn't inherited through goodwill. It isn't accumulated through compliance. It's engineered. Control what people see. Define what people expect. Position for what's coming before others detect it. You understand the architecture. Now execute the first move. Here's the diagnosis. Without comfort, you're not weak because you lack intelligence. You're weak because you've been operating inside a compliance framework designed by people who profit from your obedience. Remember the stack. Perception is the platform. Consequences are the spine. Virtue is durability under KRs. Remove one layer and the structure fails. This week, run the 3-step challenge. Stop. If you made it this far, you're already in the top 1% of this audience. Most already clicked away to find a comforting lie. Take a breath. We're moving from theory to execution. This is where your new identity begins. Step 1. Upgrade one perception signal. Find one place you over-explain, hedge, or ask permission for decisions you already own. Cut it. Speak directly. Publish less. Deliver cleaner. Step 2. Set one boundary with explicit consequence. State it once. No extra speeches. When tested, enforce calmly and immediately. Then move on. Step 3. Build one exit asset that didn't exist 7 days ago. This is not a hobby. It's leverage, a new alliance, a private client, or a skill that makes you less dependent on your current master. If you have no exit, you have no voice. Start building the door. Lock this into a hard window. Within 24 hours, choose the actions. Within 72 hours, execute the first visible move. Within 7 days, review outcomes and tighten the system. Speed matters because hesitation restores old identity. The old you survives by postponement. Kill postponement and the new framework starts compounding. Expect friction. When you move from compliant to strategic, people benefiting from your old behavior will resist. Don't read that as failure. Read it as proof the leverage shifted. The systems you were told to trust are falling apart. The old ladders are shattered. You can fall with them, or become the barbarian who builds the bridge to what comes next. Subscribe if you intend to join those who will lead what comes next. Comment power if you want the next playbook applied to professional hierarchies, competitive social environments, and high-stakes relationships. The empire is falling. Build your fortress.